Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from Rotowire here with today's NFL news and notes from a fantasy football perspective. Okay, the first thing, I did talk about AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones last week, but I'm framing it differently today, and I'd like you to listen to this one. It's based on an Aaron Rodgers comment that said it's realistic that both Dillon and Aaron Jones can catch at least 50 passes this year. So, first of all, we know that's pretty much a normal number for Jones, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But Dillon caught 34 passes last year, which is a really good number on its own. And because he went to Boston College where they didn't throw the ball, we thought he wasn't a good receiving back. But we saw last year he caught 34 out of 38 targets, so he was very reliable. But again, 34 to 50 is still a jump. But then I began to think about it. So first of all, we got to understand ADP here. Aaron Jones is going just inside the top 12 running backs. Normally in a 12-team league, he's going somewhere near the turn at the end of the first, beginning of the second round. Could vary by a few picks depending on individual draft and drafters. Dillon, however, is going at RB22. Now, my ADP data comes from my friends at fantasymojo.com, Darren Armani, and they take drafts over the last 3 days, high stakes drafts. People have skin in the game, no mock drafts, so we know these are somewhat reliable. So anyway, they're both going as running back 1 and a running back 2 in 12-team leagues. So here's what I need you to understand them. First of all, how could this work? Could they both be worth ADP? So in the Packers offense, we know there is a lot of uncertainty at the wide receiver position. Allen Lazard has been an excellent blocker. When called upon, he's been okay. He would draw number 1 coverage as the lead guy. How will he do with that? It's very uncertain as to how well he'll do. If you buy in on him, great. I just think there's a lot of concern potentially there. And then we hear a lot of buzz on Romeo Dobbs. But in the meantime, he's dropped some passes. Aaron Rodgers called out the younger receivers in terms of some frustration level, not running their routes well, things that young receivers deal with. Christian Watson has missed the majority of camp. Sammy Watkins hurt, stunner. And then Randall Cobb has been forever in the slot, whether it's here or elsewhere. But Randall Cobb, in my opinion, has a little bit left in the tank and be okay. Here's my point. If the receivers are not good, what do the Packers have going for them? And here's what it is. They have potentially a shutdown defense. Will they be? Maybe not. But their secondary looks really good. And they bolstered a linebacker in the draft. And we like that. And they've given up yardage on the ground. But we don't usually worry about run defense unless they're horrifically bad. And the Packers have been bad at times over the years. But I think they'll be decent enough for that not to be the incredible liability. So now, great defense, questionable pass game weapons. So what do? It's possible that Dillon and Aaron Jones are the best 2 skill position players on the field, not named Aaron Rodgers. If they are, here's how they frame it. Lots of 2 running back sets. Does that mean they're both lined up in the backfield? Not necessarily. We've seen Aaron Jones. You've heard me talk about this. He can line up in the slot. He can line up out wide. He's a very versatile player. He is possibly their best receiver. I'm not saying he is. He could be. He's that talented. And then that leaves Dillon. And Dillon has shown the ability, as I said earlier, run hard between the tackles, even get outside a bit. He can catch the ball. So maybe their path to getting back deep in the playoffs, well, they get 13-3 record, they get bounced pretty early usually, but if they make a run, is going to be running the ball or using the running backs, going heavy personnel, using Aaron Rodgers play action to occasionally throw some passes and let their defense work. In that case, you're not crazy to even consider rostering both of them. If you're at the point in the draft where you took Jones early and you're hung up between running backs and you're on the clock and you need one and then Dillon's the next on your board, I don't think it's the craziest thing in the world. Now there's downside. If the receivers break out and play well, this becomes a balanced offense. The running backs, neither Jones or Dillon may reach their value at ADP. If this team gets pass heavier because the receivers end up being better than expected, it could be problematic. So there is some downside, but there's clear upside. Now, what am I doing? I love Aaron Jones. He's a target when I'm picking in the end of the first round. I'll either take him again at the turn, maybe I hope goes to the second round. But with my second running back, where Dillon's going, if you've listened to me, you know I'm in on Cam Akers. You know I'm in on Elijah Mitchell. Those are running backs that are right around A.J. Dillon. And for me, both of them had the potential of being lead backs in running back friendly offenses. So I prefer to go that route. Again, if you're going for the green and gold, go with it because I don't see anything wrong with that. Injuries. Darren Waller, he's missed almost the entire month of the hamstring, but he returned to practice on Wednesday. So now, as long as we don't have a setback, he should remain safe at his current price, typically right outside the top 3 tight ends. He usually goes right around tight end 4. We know Devontae Adams is there. Devontae Adams is going to draw a lot of targets. But Darren Waller is an elite player, and he was the one getting bracketed last year. He was the one the defense were trying to take away. With Devontae Adams, Waller will have opportunity to make bigger plays, more space to run. So his targets may not be what we've seen, especially 2 years ago. But I think if the targets are good, and look, the Raiders project to probably throw the ball over 600 plus times, and they may even border with 650. I could see that happening. There are going to be a lot of shootouts in the AFC West. Waller could be a very good play as a tight end for. Now, personally, I like to wait on tight end. I don't want one in the first 5 rounds. I really like to go 6 rounds when possible, drafting running backs and receivers. And then once about 6 quarterbacks, 6 tight ends are off the board, that's when I attack those positions. Because I feel I'm getting good enough players to keep me competitive there, but I'm really wanting to load up on receivers and running backs because I want those higher end players, a little less volatility. All right. J.K. Dobbins back in the news. Wow, it's crazy. So first we hear the report, not going to be ready for the start of the season. Dobbins gets angry. I'm ready to play. So now we talk to John Harbaugh. Now this is a typical coach speak, right? Too early to know if he'll be ready for the season opener. So what do we have? Nothing. We have no idea what's going on here. Dobbins is being brought back slowly, which is fine. It's possible he's ready week 1. It's possible John Harbaugh, if he thinks that Dobbins isn't 100%, but will be in the near future, I think he's a smart enough coach to say, you know what? Let's play the long game here. Even though Dobbins wants to play, John Harbaugh wants to compete for a Super Bowl. And having Dobbins in week 17, 18 in the playoffs is far more important than having him in week 1, 2, or 3. So understand it's possible. Gus Edwards seems to be also behind on his rehab. He's looking unlikely to be ready for the start of the season. So you could see Mike Davis, Tyler Beatty, and others involved, and Justice Hill even. You could see them involved as early as week 1. I think Lamar is going to run a lot early in the season, but let's not jump the gun on J.K. Dobbins. He is going in an ADP of running back 20. It's pretty aggressive because if he's not ready, he won't be worth that. But if those who are believing he'll be himself, at least by week 2 or 3, then I think you do have a bargain because this is a run-heavy offense. They have a good defense, and I know Jackson's going to run, but with Gus Edwards behind, I think J.K. Dobbins could be flirting with 18 to 20 carries a game. Yes, I said that. He was only 15 2 years ago, but that was with a healthy Gus Edwards. All right, minor report here. CeeDee Lamb, Mike Garafolo from NFL Network said Lamb has a foot injury, minor. He may not play in the preseason game against the Chargers, but expected back on the field soon. So when you see foot injury, as of right now, don't freak out. Draft Lamb as you usually would. Look, I have Lamb way up my rankings. I'll draft him in the end of the first round. Now I know I like Aaron Rodgers too, and I just in the Kings Classic, I got both of them. I got in the 14-team league, I got Aaron Jones at pick 13. I came back around at pick 16 and took CeeDee Lamb. He fell there. So that was beautiful. Now, CeeDee Lamb, why do I like him? We have to extrapolate superstar qualities, but I believe we've seen enough. But the biggest deal is target share. Dallas is going to throw. I think the defense regresses. They had a lot of great turnover luck last year. A lot of things really worked their way. I think they're going to have to score a lot. He is the only lock as a receiver on that roster right now. Injuries to Gallup, injuries to Washington. I like Jaylen Tolbert, but he's a rookie. Dalton Schultz, we talk about all the time. He's going to be covered this year. Unlike last year when Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb were drawing the attention of defenses, the middle of the field was frequently left open. So CeeDee Lamb, I am pretty much expecting 160 targets, as high as 180. Give me that volume. When you're taking a first round, early second round wide receiver, I almost think you're paying for that type of target volume. The exception may be Jamar Chase. He had 128 last year. But honestly, if Chase gets 128 targets again, that gets me a little nervous. You've heard me talk about him on other shows, so right now I could bring back him on another show. I got other players to cover today. Jaylen Waddle's next. So Jaylen Waddle, undisclosed injury. We get a lot of those this time of year. Coaches feel they don't have to give it up, so they don't. But apparently it's just day to day. So right now, Waddle apparently wanted to suit up for practice, but the coach staff said no. So again, draft him as you normally would. I'm a little concerned about the Miami passing game because, look, Tyreek Hill complained about his lack of work in Kansas City, 25% target share, 159 targets, and he felt he wasn't being used enough. Well, now we're going to Miami. A, they don't have Patrick Mahomes. B, they don't have Andy Reid. This offense won't throw nearly as much as the Chiefs. And also, Miami potentially has a good defense. This is a team that could be closer to, 53% pass, 47% run. I could see that. And if that's the case, Jaylen Waddle could be frozen out on targets because the team paid so much for Tyreek Hill, they can't afford to have him upset. So they're going to almost be forced to get him the ball. That would be concerning for an excellent up-and-coming player like Waddle. Josh Jacobs is next. Since August 12th, so about 5-6 days right now, he was sidelined with an undisclosed injury. No update as to his return. He should be back. We have no report. He seems to be competing with Kenyon Drake and Zamir White for work. Remember, the Raiders did not pick up Jacobs' fifth-year option, so it looks like they're done with him after this year, so they may be planning for life after him now. Now, Jacobs is still being drafted just inside the top 24 running backs, so fantasy managers are still convinced there will be little issue that he has a prominent role. But if he's nicked up and if Zamir White plays well, and again, I'm not saying he will, but there's a scenario here where Jacobs is in a three-way backfield, and at running back 22, 23, I'm a little bit concerned about that. Again, with the team have nothing invested in long term, that's a little bit concerning. Kenneth Walker's next, and we talked about him yesterday where Pete Carroll said he had a little bit of a hernia thing. Well, now it's gone to he's having a procedure, but then Pete Carroll, in lovely Pete Carroll form, says it's not a core injury, but doesn't, of course, specify the injury, which is fine. We don't need to know his medical history. But anyway, a procedure is being done, whatever that means. Now, that said, we don't know if it's going to be a week, a month. We have no idea what's going on with Kenneth Walker here. So, and Walker's ADP in recent days has gone above Rashad Penny. Remember, I use fantasymojo.com ADP, high stakes last 3 days, so it's very accurate in recent data. So Rashad Penny right now, he's already been dinged up a couple times in camp, so we worry about that. We know how explosive he is when he plays, but that's been a rarity. So again, I'm kind of avoiding the Seattle backfield. I see a potential mess here. I see both potentially being involved. Right now, Walker being dinged up, that's not promising, and don't know if it lingers. So I'm a little bit nervous there. I think I'm going to take similarly ranked players and take my chances there. Treylon Burks back in the news. The inconsistent offseason continues. So he leaves Wednesday's practice with an undisclosed injury. Again, we have no idea if it's minor, major, fine, but it's just been a weird offseason. He had the conditioning and asthma issues in the spring. And then this may not be anything, but then we remember he was listed on the depth chart as a second teamer. Now, that could have been coaches putting veterans ahead. We know that happens. So I'm not really worried about that. So the whole point is his ADP has fallen outside the top 45 receivers. So the fantasy community understands there is a little bit to worry about here. And that top 45 receivers puts him just outside the top 100 players in most leagues. So if his talent turns into quick production, remember, mid-first round pick, he'll be a steal at that ADP. But we always have to worry. Think about how frequently first-round wide receivers bust. It is a high number, bordering on 40+%. So to say a first-round receiver is going to hit, like last year, we had the bad buzz about Jamar Chase, and everybody got worried. Well, here we go, 1,300 yards later or whatever it was, and he tears the league apart. So we know that's not the case. So, but Treylon Burks, we don't know. Could he be a superstar? Yes. Could he be a bust? Yes. At his ADP, if you believe he's going to be a star, you need to take that shot. I'm concerned. So, right, and it's a run-heavy team. And I still feel that Robert Woods is an outstanding route runner, and he is going to be a factor. So, and a low-volume passing attack, I think I'm going to just hesitate off on Treylon Burks and go another direction. I may even like Jalen Tolbert, jump ADP on him and just go to higher passing team, and he seems to be tearing it up a bit in camp. A few more here. Mecole Hardman, groin injury, leaves Wednesday's practice early. But again, no word of severity, might not be much. And he's like one of the only remaining receivers from the former squad that, had a significant role. Now, he was benched, not completely benched, but he was definitely benched more for Byron Pringle. The snap share slid significantly for Hardman the second half of the season. So there's a little bit of an issue there. But he does have a chance to do something in this offense. We're not sure completely. We all think Juju may do really well, but he's had a couple down seasons. We can blame that on Ben, the offense, and a lot of other things. But again, Juju's not a lock. He's a good choice, but not a lock. And then Sky Moore, again, some inconsistencies in camp. We think he'll be a good player down the road, but it may take him a while to pick up the offense and the nuances. So Hardman is a player. His ADP stayed low. So he's one that if you want to make an investment cheaply in the Chiefs passing attack, he may be cheap. Now, Sky Moore is cheap too, but Hardman's even cheaper. So you may consider that. Now, Jameis Winston. We know he's coming back from the ACL, suffered mid-season last year, and we know he's had a recent foot injury, so he'll miss a second straight preseason game. Do we care about preseason games? Not really, but we would like to see him work with his receivers because it's a new group for him. Michael Thomas is new to him. He hasn't played in a year and a half. And then we have Jarvis Landry and Chris Olave in. So, Jameis, remember, he threw for fewer than 200 yards a game last year. Now, of course, his receivers were not good, so he certainly can go there and understand that. But Jameis Winston's been a very inconsistent quarterback in his career. And my concern is that Sean Payton, I believed when they signed Winston 2 years ago that he would have a great effect on him. And we saw when he played last year, even though he wasn't great, he was effective. Now, with the coach gone, I don't know that Pete Carmichael can play the same magic with Winston. He's quarterback 19. He has some weapons. So if you're bullish on the weapons, then you should be bullish on Winston. But I think this could be an offense that could be more run heavy than we like. And I think with Winston coming back from injury especially, I think there's reason to be concerned there. All right, Jerick McKinnon. Now, Nate Taylor of the Athletic says McKinnon has a strained hammy, so not so good there. Kept him out of Wednesday's practice. Again, got to keep an eye and monitor these things. Look, last year in the playoffs and down the stretch, McKinnon was excellent. And here's why. Jerick McKinnon can actually run routes out of the backfield. That's something Andy Reid hasn't had in a long time, and he has not had it in Kansas City. He'll throw simple screens to running backs, but that's not what Andy Reid wants to do. I remember that Pittsburgh playoff game when McKinnon ran two specific routes. They were sick, and yet they took advantage of that. Big gains out of that. McKinnon was fast and decisive against light boxes. He's certainly not going to see a heavy snap share because they have to preserve him if he even makes a team. But if this hamstring comes off as a quick injury and a move past quickly, if you're in a PPR league, a late round waste pick on McKinnon, if he emerges as the third down back, could be very, very beneficial. And then now, you'll go to a couple job battles to get out of here. Joshua Kelly. So Daniel Popper of The Athletic says that Kelly's been the front runner in first team work over Isaiah Spiller and Larry Roundtree. No big deal there, right? Because he hasn't really done much. Neither has done much. Now, unless Kelly has turned some crazy corner, he hasn't surpassed 3.1 yards per carry in his 2 seasons. So he's been terrible, and why they keep bringing him back. It's like Spiller. Now, in the preseason opener, 44 yards on 6 touches. So he looked good. Now, Spiller had about the same yards, but he had 5 more touches. So, a little bit difference there. But I wouldn't put a lot of stock in Kelly at this point. If Spiller shows something, you almost think he has to get the role because they kind of know what Kelly is. But I guess crazier things have happened. If he does turn a corner, if he was motivated and change some things, it is possible. So I'm not saying to invest a pick in Kelly yet, but if he plays again in the preseason games and he turns heads, I think at that point he could be worth a late flyer. So watch that game this weekend. And then finally, Deshaun Watson, more of the same. We know the appeal is going on. Now the Players Association and Watson's representatives are trying to negotiate a deal because they realize the league wants more than a year. So they're trying to get some settlement between the 8 and the year. Wait this one out. I'm not drafting him, but if you want to draft him, go right ahead. But right now it's a little bit confusing to me. Thank you for your time, and everybody have a great rest of your day.